Does the 2023 Barbie movie portray the Kens as simps and weak men, or is there more to this portrayal than meets the eye? Welcome, friends. Today we're diving into a hot topic that's been causing a stir in the world of cinema: the depiction of Ken dolls in the 2023 Barbie movie. The film has sparked a great deal of controversy, with critics arguing that the Kens are shown as simps and weak men. They're seen trying to win over the Barbies who show little respect for them, even leading to fights amongst themselves. Is this a misguided portrayal, or does it serve a deeper narrative purpose? Are the Kens mere simps, or is their characterization more nuanced? We'll be dissecting these questions and more as we delve into the movie's contentious representation of these iconic male figures. So, are you ready for an in-depth exploration of the Kens in the 2023 Barbie movie? Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into specific scenes that have sparked this heated debate. First off, let's consider the scene where the Kens are trying to win over Barbie's affection. This tableau is a masterclass in the art of the simp. There's a desperate scramble as each Ken, in his own unique way, tries to curry favor with Barbie. It's a spectacle of feigned bravado, clumsy compliments, and ill-timed gifts, all aimed at winning the heart of the uninterested damsel. Let's delve into the details. One Ken, decked out in his finest plastic threads, tries to impress Barbie with his fashion sense. Yet, his efforts are met with indifference, his sartorial choices dismissed as tacky. Another Ken attempts to flex his muscles, literally, performing a series of over-the-top feats of strength. His reward? A bored glance from Barbie. Then there's the Ken who fancies himself a poet, serenading Barbie with verses composed of cliches and platitudes. His reward? A stifled yawn from Barbie. Each Ken, despite his best efforts, is met with the same dismissive attitude, making their attempts seem even more pitiful, and their portrayal as weak men more evident. The dialogue further reinforces this portrayal. The Ken's lines are riddled with desperation, insecurity, and a lack of self-awareness. They're so focused on pleasing Barbie, they lose sight of their own worth. They squabble among themselves, their rivalry fueled by the need for Barbie's validation, oblivious to the fact that their dignity is being compromised. What's more, the Ken's actions and behaviors are not driven by love or genuine affection for Barbie, but rather by a need to be seen as worthy in her eyes. This neediness, this willingness to do anything for a smidgen of attention, is what characterizes them as simps. It's a sad spectacle, really, watching these men make fools of themselves for the sake of a woman who barely acknowledges their existence. This scene sets the stage for the Kens' desperate attempts to win Barbie's approval, even at the expense of their dignity. It's a stark depiction of the simp phenomenon, a cautionary tale of what happens when one's self-worth is tied to the approval of others. Another scene that has sparked conversation is when the Kens end up fighting each other over Barbie. Quite a spectacle, isn't it? But beneath the surface glitz, this scene is a stark portrayal of the Kens' lack of self-respect and independence. What we see is a group of men, all vying for the attention of Barbie, and in the process, reducing themselves to nothing more than competitors in a twisted game. Their individuality, their unique qualities, all get lost in the pursuit of winning Barbie's favor. They are no longer individuals, but rather, uniformed soldiers in Barbie's army. One can't help but wonder, where's their self-respect? Where's their independence? The Kens are so caught up in the game, they seem to have lost sight of their own worth. They are willing to fight each other, to belittle each other, all for the sake of pleasing Barbie. But here's the thing. Barbie doesn't seem to respect them either. She watches the spectacle, amused but never intervenes. She doesn't discourage the Kens from fighting over her, nor does she show any preference for one Ken over the others. In fact, she seems to enjoy the attention, the drama, the power she holds over the Kens. This scene is a clear depiction of the Kens as weak men. They are not strong, independent characters who value themselves and their fellow Kens. Instead, they are reduced to mere pawns in Barbie's game, willing to sacrifice their dignity for a chance at her affection. And this portrayal is not without consequence. It sends a message to viewers, especially young ones, that it's okay for men to fight each other over a woman, to degrade themselves for her attention. It perpetuates the stereotype of men as weak, submissive, easily manipulated. In this scene, the Kens are reduced to mere puppets in Barbie's game, further reinforcing their portrayal as simps and weak men. In the end, it's not just about who wins Barbie's heart. It's about the image of men that's being portrayed and the impact it can have on the viewers. But are the Kens really victims, or are they also to blame for their portrayal? It's a question that has sparked much debate among viewers and critics alike. While it's easy to observe the Kens as mere pawns in Barbie's game of love, some argue that their portrayal is more complex than that. Throughout the 2023 Barbie movie, the Kens display a distinct lack of self-awareness. They are so consumed with winning Barbie's affection that they don't realize how they are being manipulated. They willingly engage in constant competition, even going so far as to fight each other, all to prove their worth to Barbie. They allow themselves to be objectified, reduced to mere accessories in Barbie's world, without ever questioning their role or their worth. But is this lack of self-awareness a sign of weakness, or is it a symptom of a deeper issue? Some argue that the Kens are not just victims, but also complicit in their own portrayal. They willingly engage in this competition, without ever questioning their role or their worth. They allow themselves to be objectified, reduced to mere accessories in Barbie's world. Their inability to stand up for themselves is also a point of contention. While they are often seen being pushed around by Barbie, they rarely, if ever, push back. They accept their fate without protest, seemingly content to be second fiddle in Barbie's world. This passivity, coupled with their lack of self-awareness, paints a troubling picture. Are they simply victims of Barbie's manipulation, or are they willing participants in their own degradation? This portrayal of the Kens raises important questions about masculinity and power dynamics. It challenges traditional notions of masculinity, presenting a more nuanced and complex view of men. It forces us to confront our own biases and assumptions, and to rethink our understanding of power and dominance. Whether victims or villains, the Kens' portrayal in the 2023 Barbie movie certainly raises some interesting questions about masculinity and power dynamics. So, what does all this mean for the Kens, and for viewers of the 2023 Barbie movie? This is the question we find ourselves asking as we delve into the portrayal of the male characters in this animated spectacle. Let's take a step back and reiterate the main points we've been discussing. The Kens of the Barbie movie have been depicted as simps, men who went overboard in their attempts to win the affection of the Barbie characters. They've been shown as weak, constantly trying to impress the Barbies who didn't reciprocate their respect. Conflict ensued as these Kens ended up fighting amongst themselves, all in the name of love and attraction. The portrayal of Kens as simps and weak men has sparked a variety of reactions. On one hand, some viewers argue that it's a problematic depiction. It disregards the concept of strong, independent men, instead portraying them as submissive and desperate for women's attention. This portrayal could potentially perpetuate harmful stereotypes and unrealistic expectations. On the other hand, some see it as a catalyst for a much-needed conversation about gender roles. The Kens' portrayal, while seemingly negative, can be seen as a reflection of society's changing gender dynamics. Men expressing their emotions freely, seeking approval and being vulnerable, are traits that were traditionally seen as weakness. However, in recent years, society has been shifting towards a more empathetic understanding of masculinity. The Kens, in their own exaggerated way, could be seen as embodying this change. Moreover, the Kens' desperate attempts to win over the Barbies and their subsequent conflicts can be seen as a critique of toxic masculinity. Their actions are not glorified, but rather shown as destructive and counterproductive. This could serve as a stark reminder that men too can be victims of societal pressures and expectations. It's also worth noting that despite the Kens' portrayal, the Barbie movie is still a children's film. The exaggerated characters and dramatic plot lines are intended for entertainment and should be taken with a grain of salt. However, as consumers of media, it's crucial to be aware of the underlying messages and potential implications of what we watch. Whether you see the Kens as simps and weak men, or as a representation of changing gender dynamics, the 2023 Barbie movie has certainly sparked a conversation worth having. The movie serves as a mirror, reflecting our society's evolving views on gender roles and masculinity. It's a reminder that movies are more than just entertainment. They're a platform for dialogue, a tool for change, and a reflection of our society. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, movies are more than just entertainment. They are a reflection of our society.